Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Sean. After much wrangling to gain entry to China, the World Health Organization was finally allowed to visit China. But I bet it won't solve the mystery of COVID-19's origins. Its mission will consist of interviewing Chinese medical and research personnel to see if they tell stories at odds with Beijing's official version. They won't. An obvious reason for the long delay and the politicking over WHO's invitation was to make sure word was dispatched down the bureaucracy to let local officials and the medics know what they were supposed to say. There is not going to be much cooperation from Beijing. The real challenge is to ransack China's inventory of patient and autopsy samples from before the Wuhan outbreak to find out where and when the new virus manifested itself without being recognized. Other countries have been willing to do this outside of China. We know the virus was present in France in December 2019 before the Wuhan eruption. A woman with a characteristic COVID rash who turned up at a Milan hospital in November 2019 has been identified as Italy's possible patient zero. Some blood samples suggest the virus may have been present since September 2019. Based on such evidence, Chinese officials now are suggesting that the virus started elsewhere. They argue that China shall not be blamed. On the contrary, China gets credit for alerting the world to its existence. Guess what? Anything is possible until we establish some pattern in unrecognized early cases. In comments to the press, WHO officials have alluded to the assumption that China has collected such samples too and hasn't made the results public. What's happening in China today might be a more fruitful subject of WHO inquiry than what happened in Wuhan a year ago. In Hebei province this week, 22 million people have been commanded not to leave their homes in response to what's described as a handful of cases. Such instances have repeatedly popped up across China with little analysis leaking into the outside world. A lockdown in the city of Kashgar was imposed after a single asymptomatic case led to 137 others, all asymptomatic. Is this a medical miracle, or have China's citizens gotten the message that they should hide their sore throat and fevers from authorities? No Western society would stand for the costs China has asked its citizens to bear. Enforced mass testing, enforced quarantine, the locking of symptomless or uninfected people in their homes. China is not Taiwan, Singapore, or even South Korea, a country with water on 3 sides and an impassable military border on the 4th. Before the pandemic hit, China was the world's #4 international tourist destination with 60 million visitors a year. Business travelers kept investment and trade flowing. Losing these benefits is among the costs China's people have been forced to bear. What may be harder to understand is that they likely did so to avoid the costs Western countries didn't have to worry about. By a count published in January 2020, China has 3.6 intensive care beds for every 100,000 citizens, compared with 29.4 for the US and 38.7 for Germany. China has 9 cities bigger than New York, 27 bigger than Los Angeles, and 40 bigger than Chicago. Now think of the virus raging through these cities the way it did New York in the spring or LA today, with 1/10 the hospital capacity. Wuhan, a city of 11 million, is 30% bigger than New York. Its hospital system broke down under a case and a death load that was less than a quarter of that experienced by New York. In Wuhan, patients died not only in the hospital hallways, but in the streets. COVID has been a rough experience for everybody, but it didn't threaten basic institutions of Western-style governance. But in China, the threat that virus raging in large urban agglomerations, it might well have looked like the end of the road for the Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is selling the idea that it has defeated the virus through the country's strong-handed authoritarian policy response to the pandemic, proving both the superiority of their people and their system as a whole. Beijing has been happy to continue to deliver a roadmap of solutions to the rest of the world, which includes further rolling lockdowns and draconian restrictions until the virus is under control, like in China. The aforementioned roadmap continues to be implemented as the main game plan to defeat the virus across the world. Some countries have instituted hard lockdowns and other punishing restrictions for hundreds of days, with no success to be found. So why have these lockdowns, China's promised magic bullet, never worked anywhere else in the world? That's because China's response in Wuhan was a pure pseudoscience. It didn't actually work. China did not eliminate a virus. The data about lockdowns, now tried in over 100 countries and having been instituted for almost a year, shows that they do not work to eliminate respiratory virus. The same goes with every other non-pharmaceutical intervention. In addition to contact tracing for the virus, the data on lockdowns are unrelenting and crystal clear in showcasing their catastrophic failures. China did not eliminate a virus. They successfully sold the image of eliminating a virus. The reason why Chinese society can be open and productive during the coronavirus pandemic is simple. COVID-19 is not particularly dangerous to an open society. The data tells us that around 99.9% of infectees will recover from COVID-19. It is simply not the killer virus we were told it was. It is a disease that is not at all threatening to the working class. The virus is not dangerous enough to change any of our behaviors, but it did anyway, because our leaders are misinformed about its real danger to society. China did not defeat a virus, but they did declare victory over a virus, told us they had virtually eliminated a virus and then moved on. The Communist Party is motivated to continue to propagate these COVID-19 falsehoods about their stunning national success until the information operation is no longer useful and no sooner. If there's one thing we can borrow from China's real response to the pandemic, it's their post-Wuhan reaction, which showcases that the virus is not powerful enough to reorient the society around it. Yet somehow, through almost the entirety of 2020, the Western world was busy brute-forcing China-prescribed lockdowns over and over again, continually failing but expecting different results. I hope this is what WHO will learn from their visit to China. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.